I was bullish on Cyborg, as were the betting fans. She was the very clear favorite. But I was also very reserved with it because I did believe in Amanda. I just didn't believe that Amanda would go out there and fight her fight. So many people lose to Cyborg. Cyborg gets called the Mike Tyson of MMA. To explain for you what that comparison is, that doesn't mean she comes out there with her beady little eyes bobbing side to side and throwing uppercuts. That's not what it means. It means she's an intimidating force that can wilt an opponent in the locker room before the contest ever happens. And when the opponent gets in there, they don't bring their skills with them because they are so scared. And Cyborg is the Mike Tyson of MMA for that reason. Opponents don't go in there and play with the one that brought them. They go in there hesitant, worried, and with one goal in mind, which is each minute that I stay out here and survive, and each round that goes on is a win. Amanda has incredible skills, and the only thing I wanted to see as a fan was Amanda come across the ring and start throwing those big, heavy hands at Cyborg's face. Whatever happens after that, happens after that. But I've seen Cyborg in about every situation you could imagine, except that one, and that's not her fault. It's just the opponents were so worried. They just didn't do that. Well, Amanda did. Amanda came right out there. She looked calm as can be, looked like she looked before every other fight, used her skills, which was good boxing, closed the range, took the shots back, dealt with it, and started trading. That's just what happened, and it made for a very meaningful contest. That was a very meaningful fight because you will always hear the dialogue, and then you will always hear me push back on the dialogue of the pound-for-pound great or the greatest of all time, which is such a wimpy term that's thrown out there every single time a show ends. Every single time a show is over, we have a recency bias, and we talk about the greatest of all time, greatest of all, every time, never miss. And it's also tough because that's one conversation you can't have. It's like Batman versus Superman. There are so many possible integers, nobody can prove it. There is no tournament, there is no contest, and the right people never come to the table. We're seeing it right now in boxing. They want to talk about who the best boxer in the world is. You got Anthony Joshua, who's a complete coward. You got Tyson Fury and Wilder. We can agree it's one of those three, but Anthony Joshua won't get in there with anybody. That should automatically exclude him from the dialogue, but some people in the coward camp will actually add that to his credibility. Well, those guys fought to a draw, and Anthony Joshua could have whipped both of them. Excuse me. He's too much of a chicken to even get in there, which is usually the problem that you always have. Joshua's not the first chicken out there with a belt around his waist that can sell out and fill up an arena and has a bunch of fans that'll back him no matter what he does. We see that happen often, but that's what creates the problem with the pound for pound for current settings or the greatest of all time for historical settings. In this case, everybody came to the table. Everybody came to the table to make this match. This is one thing about professional fighting. If you beat somebody, you take everything they ever did. So in this case, Ronda Rousey was part of the equation. Miesha Tate was part of the equation. Gina Carano was part of the equation. Cyborg was part of the equation, and Amanda was part of the equation, as well as Holly Holm for that matter. As well as Bullet, Valentino. They were all part of it. Because somewhere along the way, the two girls that got in there and said, I'm ready when the referee asked them after that cage door shut, had crossed paths and had victories over everybody I just mentioned. So everybody I just mentioned, all the top female fighters of all time were in that ring in some level of parity and comparison by proxy. And Amanda came out on top. This is literally the first time there has ever been a fighter where you must say they are the greatest of all time. Because everybody had a hand in this, leading to this. And this is the difference between professional and amateur. It's a major difference. Use the amateurs by example. If you fight an Olympic champion and you beat him, you don't then become the Olympic champion. You should, but you don't. That lineage does not get passed down. If somebody wins a tournament on Saturday night and loses 4 weeks later, they still are the winner of whatever prize that was from a month previous. That's amateur. In professional, you take everything from them, all of it. And in most cases, their money too. In most cases, there's also a win bonus up. It is all on the line, and Amanda left. And I want to just say this about Amanda, because so many times athletes become very pompous with success to the point that you don't even want to be around them. You start to cheer against them. They are blinded by their own success. Amanda appears to be blind of her success. Amanda literally, the only thing that she asked of Dana White after this fight, publicly and on the microphone, was that he consider her for the Hall of Fame. Joe Rogan literally laughed and said, I don't think you need to worry about that. Yeah, well, excuse me. Joe is completely right. She has 2 world championships simultaneously at 2 different weight classes, taking out Ronda Rousey and taking out Cris Cyborg, 1 in 48 seconds and 1 in 53. Yeah, Amanda, you're going in the Hall of Fame. Okay, young lady, you could never fight again, or you could fight all the time and never win again, ever. You're going in the Hall of Fame. But she appears to be so absent of her own accomplishments, which I find to be, from a markability and a marketing standpoint, her single most redeeming quality. She's just a regular gal. Gets up, works hard, apparently doesn't read her own press clippings. They all read their own press clippings. She apparently doesn't read her own press clippings. There's a young man from the University of Iowa, a defending national champion and former 3-time world champion wrestler named Spencer Lee. Spencer Lee lost a wrestling match over the weekend and promptly deleted his Twitter account. I got no problem with him doing that. I got none whatsoever, but he was a guy who read his own clippings and it affected him to the point that it hurt his feelings, to the point that a 3-time world champion who got his feelings hurt from a few people on Twitter had to delete the account, and I'm not turning on him at all. I don't want Spencer to go, guy being a jerk to me. No, not at all. I'm just saying this is a very real thing. It's real for the young athletes, and it's real for the world champion athletes. It doesn't appear to be real for Amanda. The only thing that she asked after setting history, absolute history that will never be broken, it can only be tied. It can never be broken. Whenever you're first to do it, it can never be broken. Is that she get a consideration someday for the Hall of Fame. If you're telling me somebody like that, with that level of success and that level of groundedness is not marketable, I would strongly, strongly ask you to reconsider.